Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Women Arts Day 2025. Yes, that's right, give it up. This is our celebration for Women's History Month. I'm Avis Boone, representing SAG-AFTRA.
I'm Yvonne Curry.
In the mic.
I'm Yvonne Curry, representing Stage Directors and Choreographers Society.
And I'm Shellen Lubin, representing the League of Professional Theater Women. We are the co-presidents of the coalition.
We are the co-presidents of the coalition. It takes a team, 3. We would also like to acknowledge that we are on the hilly island, once known as Matahatta, home of the Lenape people.
And we stand in gratitude for the indigenous peoples on whose land we stand. We also stand with all peoples around the world struggling for peace and the ability to live and thrive.
You could just move a little bit that way for me. This podium was not made for 3 people. But I would like to add, including us here in the United States. This is a hard, challenging time for us all. And we just want you to know that we're here, we're with you, and we're not going anywhere. For over 30 years, the WHAM Coalition, trademark pending, we're going to be the WHAM Coalition soon, has been harnessing the power of our member organizations to address issues of concern to women in our industry, connecting individuals and organizations to share information, sponsor events, give awards, and nurture the voices and visions of women.
Yes, that deserves an applause for sure. We would also like to acknowledge all the reps from all of those organizations who have served on our board now and in the past. Would you all please stand up?
Everyone who's been on our board.
That's anyone that has been on our board, our past co-presidents.
Beautiful. You may not know this, but if you're a member of any of our member orgs, you are a member of the coalition. All our member orgs are listed on our website, as are all the ways to connect with us. We're at WomenArtsmedia everywhere. Scan your QR code in the lobby to go to our website and find everything.
And also, let me just ask, since I heard a phone ring, no one's calling me, please silence your phones. And whether or not you're a member of one of our member orgs, you can now become an individual member. It's a great time to really get involved with us, so feel free to ask us or any other board members that are here to get more information.
So now, to talk a little bit about the history of this day, the last Saturday in March, previously, many of you know, called Swan Day, is our special advisor, creator of the funding newsletters, which have now become our Stage Ops and Screen Ops newsletters, and one of the recipients of our Elsa Rail Vintage Award for Advocacy for Women Aging in the Arts and Media, our very own beloved Martha Richards.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here and to see so many familiar faces. I've known Yvonne Curry for 40 years now because she worked at Brooklyn College where I did previously. So since I'm talking to a bunch of union people, I wanted to point out that Women Arts Day, actually, the original impetus of it was an organizing tool. It started, Women Arts, the organization, I started in 1995, around the same time as the coalition was starting, actually. And the reason I started it was I'd been working in mainstream theaters for about 20 years here in Brooklyn College and at Stage West, which was a regional theater in Springfield. And I'd noticed that if you were inside one of those institutions, and there were very few women in positions of leadership inside those institutions. There was a careful division of labor. There was somebody, when I was at Stage West, for instance, there was somebody writing the press releases, there was somebody writing the grant proposals, and then there was the whole artistic staff. But once you were outside of any of those institutions, you were really on your own. So I had seen lots of wonderful creative work by women artists, but those women on the outside were being expected to write their own press releases and to do their own fundraising and I see a lot of nods in the hall, and also go on the stage and direct the show and do everything else. And it's insane expectation. And then if you don't meet it, it's like, how come she can't get her act together? But it's just ridiculous. So I started WomenArts as a way of addressing that problem and trying to figure out what could I do to help these people who are kind of the outsiders. And so I started by, we'll try and do grant writing, see if that helps. And I was immediately deluged with people who needed grant writing help. So that's how we happened to start the funding newsletters, is so that we would have something to give people and say, look, here's all the sources that you can look to. And then we tried the Women Arts Network, which was an online database. Sort of in the early 2000s, people were just starting to have web pages, and a lot of women didn't have them. So we created this thing where you could create your own web page on our website, which we don't need now because we've got Facebook and all these other social media, but at the time it was very helpful. But that also built our mailing list quite a bit. And I was realizing I had women from not just all over the United States, but all over the world. And so then I started thinking, well, what could we do? So we have all these women out there, but a lot of them feel very, very isolated. And so they don't know quite how to, it makes it harder to do your work if you feel like you're all by yourself. And also there were people probably in their same town that if they could just connect with them, they could help each other and cheer each other on. And it would break down the isolation. It would also just help women have a way of working together that would be very helpful. So that's, I met Jan Lisa Huttner, and the two of us kind of had the idea. We'd been looking for a few different ideas of some kind of signature event. We'd seen Eve Ensler's V-Day things were very, very successful, and it was a way for women to have an event, and then they would raise money for that event. So I thought, women artists need something like that. So we created Support Women Artists Now Day, and the original idea was women all over the world could create events about showcasing their own work or some other woman's work, and they could have ticket sales and raise money, and also they would just meet each other. So I always, whenever I'm in any place else in the country, I always talk about the coalition as the model, because you guys have all your unions together and you're working together and you're talking to each other. It's really great. And in other parts of the country, that's just not true. So, but we did have a lot of successful groups around the world, actually, where women did get together and work together and help each other out. And so I did feel the most effective things about Swan Day or Women Arts Day now are that it helps women feel less isolated, and it helps gives us a public space of some kind, and it is a good organizing tool for women to get to know each other, and then once they trust each other, they can do other kinds of projects together. So I just want to close by saying that, as Shellen was saying, it's very dark times, and I wanted to point out that the Lilly Ledbetter law was the first thing that Obama passed, evidently his first order. Our current president, the first day, one of the things he did was pass an executive order allegedly defending women. And I really encourage all of you to Google executive order defending women and read the whole thing. But I just wanted to give you a taste of it. It starts out with a rant against ideologues who deny the biological reality of sex, and they say that that has a corrosive impact on the validity of the entire American system, which, they have their whole theory that you can't teach critical race or anything. And then it just, so it's putting us on this wrong path. And it says, this unhealthy road is paved by an ongoing and purposeful attack against the ordinary and long-standing use and understanding of biological and scientific terms, replacing the immutable biological reality of sex with an internal, fluid, and subjective sense of self unmoored from biological facts. So that's what we're up against now, is somebody who thinks that, biology is destiny, basically, and you're a woman, and, it's not for... We're going to see much more in the way of legislation and other things, I think, aimed at us. And I really feel we need a national movement, an international movement, perhaps, that's going to fight back against that value system. So I encourage all of you to think about that hard about how we can do that. And I'm going to be writing my blogs for WomenArts and trying to encourage people to do more stuff. But if any of you have ideas, please approach me, write to me at womenarts.org. And I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, and have a happy Women Arts Day today.
Thank you, Martha. Right now, the Coalition is currently curating this year's Collaboration Awards for 2 women from 2 different disciplines collaborating on an arts or media project.
We'll also be having a Student Collaboration Award for our student members.
Look for the announcement of the honorees, and the dates of our fall awards event should be appearing in a few months.
So we are also thrilled to have several people from SAG-AFTRA here with us today. SAG-AFTRA's Chief Labor Policy Officer and New York Local Executive Director, Rebecca Damon. And Ezra Knight, who is the New York local president, wishes that he could be here, but he's off being a superstar on Broadway in Othello, so get your tickets. And with us today, Linda Powell, who's the executive vice president in SAG-AFTRA. And they have been so supportive of the Coalition and of Women Arts Day, and you'll be hearing more from Rebecca and Linda later in the program. I also would like to introduce and have a few words on screen from our SAG-AFTRA national president, who wishes she could be here also, Fran Drescher.
Greetings, Women in the Arts and Media Coalition family. I'm so proud of the terrific decades-long partnership SAG-AFTRA has had with your wonderful organization. Happy Women Arts Day, and a special thank you to Coalition co-presidents Avis Boone, Yvonne Curry, and Shellen Lubin. Thank you for fostering a supportive environment for women and artists and those working in media. And congratulations on providing another great opportunity to highlight the role of women, especially when it comes to this important topic of equal pay. As the president of SAG-AFTRA, I'm so thrilled you all are screening Lilly, starring Patricia Clarkson as Lilly Ledbetter. Though Lilly Ledbetter's name is now synonymous with progress in the movement toward pay equity, we still have so far to go. Last year, women earned just 85% of what men earned. For women of color, that number is even lower. Our industry, too, is plagued by gender inequity, with female characters getting only 36% of the speaking time in film and television. The industry must do better. Representation matters. Together, let's celebrate and amplify women-centered projects and let the world know that we're all craving women's stories and we love films and series that give women a voice. Enjoy today's screening and the fabulous Q&A to follow. And here's to a more just, equitable, and compassionate world for all. Thank you. Mwah.
So we have a few thank yous, and then we will be getting to the film. We really want to thank our fabulous co-producer, who is the past executive director of NYWEFT, one of our sponsors today and co-producers, and also another recipient of our El Sorel Vintage Award, Terry Lawler. We want to thank the SVA BFA Film Department, helmed by Mary Lee Grasante, who sponsored our being here today, and the absolutely amazing technical team here at SVA. They are a wonder and a gift, and we're just so grateful for all of you.
SAG-AFTRA and WomenArts, who provided the food, NIWIF, who provided the wine, Dan Wen,
and Herflix, Adriana Shaw, and Dan Ladner, UBS Wealth Management.
And now, to introduce our feature film. She is an Emmy Award winner, the founder of For Impact Productions, a social impact film production company, and one of the producers of today's film, Simone Pierrot. Pierrot, you say Pierrot, I say Perrot. Tell us what it is.
Pierrot.
It is Pierrot.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome, everyone. So glad to see everybody here on this beautiful Saturday, the first day of some good weather. So really honored to have you. This event is very special to me. I'm on the advisory board of NIWIF and have been at this last Saturday of March films for many years, and I'm just so honored that one of my films, Lilly, is showing today. So thank you, Adriana, Herflix, Terry Lawler, all of the coalition, Shell and Avis, thank you so much. I don't want to set this up too much for you because I really want you to see the film, but one of the hopes that we have is that you've come away with some inspiration, and given the times that we're in, I think Lilly's story is just tremendous for us. So we are going to be opening in New York, Mother's Day weekend, so take your moms, grandmothers, aunts, uncles to see the film, and we will be having a Q&A right after. I will be here as well, and thank you so much for being here, and enjoy Lilly.
So, thank you. Isn't it a fabulous film? Thank you. Congratulations to all the parties involved, filmmakers, producers. And now, the moderator of this upcoming panel is SAG-AFTRA's Executive Vice President, Linda Powell.
Thank you, guys. Boom, boom. Yeah, awesome. That was so good. I remember, I think last year I came and there was the movie about the women drummers. Was anybody here for that? It was gorgeous. And I left wanting to play the drums, and I'm leaving this time wanting to go pass some legislation. So these movies are so inspiring. I have the great pleasure of inviting two amazing women to the stage to talk about equal pay, to talk about Lilly Ledbetter, to talk about this film. I'd like to bring up first Miss Rebecca Damon. Rebecca is the Chief Labor Policy Officer and New York Local Executive Director for SAG-AFTRA. She's on the board of Power Her New York, an inclusive statewide network committed to securing economic equality for all women. And she was recently named one of the top labor power players by Politics New York and AM New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Damon. And the huge honor of presenting to you Miss Patricia Clarkson, ladies and gentlemen. She's an award-winning actor, Oscar-nominated, Emmy Award, Golden Globe, among many other things. Known for her powerful performances, especially, and I have to say this, in independent films. Yes.
Lots of fans. Woohoo! Thank you so much.
Thank you both for being here. I wanted to start the conversation today on the question of equal pay. And I know that it's a huge issue of concern for everyone who's gathered here today. And I'm wondering, Patricia, have you found as an actress the same kind of issues that Lilly found in her career? You want to talk a little bit about that?
No, as a young actress starting out, I didn't even question it. I didn't even know to question my pay. That's how naive I was when I started many years ago. But as I grew into maybe a more secure place in this industry, I then started to question, and I found it shocking at times that men who were playing a supporting character, if I was a supporting character in a film, but I had what I figured was a much larger part, they were making the same amount of money as I was. And I was like, well, wait, you're working like 2 days. I'm working like 2 months. So it was shocking. But now, sometimes when I work, I'm paid the most.
Amen. Amen. Because you know to ask. Rebecca, what does a union do to kind of protect, and what kind of measures can they take to protect people and push for more equal pay?
Yeah, I mean, so for SAG-AFTRA, it's always exciting to do anything where we get to have an intersection of the art and the beautiful art of this movie. When I was watching it last night, I thought about our union and this movie and all these fights that we all have as women. So SAG-AFTRA has a lot of ways we do it. We have a very vibrant women's committee, and I saw some of them in the house today, so thank you. And we have been fighting in this space for years. Part of it is education, really important. You can't, just like Lilly, you can't get something that you don't know you don't have, which is that equal pay. So for our union, we have always had as a foundational statement that our strength is in our diversity. And that was in our founding documents when we merged. And so we have put out many things, whether it's our women's committee, whether it's our diversity advisory committee, whether it's the other groups we work with, like this coalition or otherwise, to help spread the word so people know what to ask for. And that's something we do as SAG-AFTRA, and that's something that the union movement does writ large as well.
I knew Lilly Ledbetter's name before I watched this movie, but that's about all I knew. How much did you know about her before you were going to play her? I know she passed last year. Did you have a chance to meet her, or?
It's a lot. So I, of course, knew who Lilly Ledbetter is. I'm the baby of 5 girls. And so my mother and father raised 5 daughters. And all of my sisters were working women. Some are retired now and just raising their gorgeous grandchildren. But one of my mother's heroes was Lilly Ledbetter. And as you know, I've played some unsavory characters here and there.
Oh, yes.
And when I finally called my mother to say, Mom, I'm going to play Lilly Ledbetter, she started crying. She said, oh, Patty, finally, you're going to play somebody that people are going to really admire. And I think this was because I think I just, like Sharp Objects, where I poison my children, had just aired. So, she was overwhelmed that I was going to play a true American hero. And so it was thrilling. But the way I work is, Lilly was very informed of this. The way I work is I'm, the actors in the house, it's a certain my own method. I felt the greatest tribute I could give her, the greatest way for me to show my love and admiration for her was not to play her, but to try to be her, to become her. And so I said, she was very aware. She said, I'm going to meet you in the end. And I said, I know who, I'm going to just try to absorb as much as I can of you, but if I meet you, it will be indelible. It will be something hard for me not to move past. And she understood. She's such a brilliant woman and everything. And so we had a big premiere at the Hamptons Film Festival, the first big screening we had in October, and I was scheduled to be there to meet her for the first time. Her beautiful daughter Vicky, that I worship, that apple falls so close to that tree, just a stunning woman. But Lilly got sick, and Vicky came, and And she passed away. It was about 2 days after we did the screening. So I never got to meet her, but I know her. I knew her. She knew me. I knew her. I knew her, and it was unfortunate, but she lives on, and that's all I know.
She absolutely does, and this movie is going to assure that, if nothing else did, because in addition to people now knowing the legislation, I think through this movie they get to know the woman.
Well, that's the beauty of her story is the fight for equal pay was, of course, monumental and really all at times catastrophic in her life. But then you realize she was also this kind of fabulous person.
Yeah.
and she had this beautiful love story in her life. And, I got the treat of a lifetime to act opposite John Benjamin Hickey. We go way back. I used to date one of his best friends. But I lusted after John. I'm not kidding you, because he was so kind and so lovely.
Kind is your thing, huh?
And so, but it was just the joy of a lifetime to bring that love story to life. But I loved that aspect of her life, that she was multifaceted, and she was just she was complicated in great ways, and she caused trouble, good trouble, and I loved that about her.
Yeah. I was amazed at the story of her before she becomes a supervisor, when she's like one of the few women on the floor.
Yeah.
And probably SAG-AFTRA now, we're very female-centric. We've got a female president, female vice president, female secretary, treasurer. We're doing our strong woman number. To see her alone on that floor and see her dealing with, even before she knew about the pay equity, the harassment and the disrespect that she was
that she tolerated
a part of
day
and tolerated,
and
and all the women seemed to be
and they
tolerated.
always gave her the worst shift, and that's what was unconscionable, is that she was giving up valuable, brutal shifts, brutal times. And let me tell you something. When she caused trouble and they put her back on the line, they took her out, and she went back on the line at 60. When I was shooting this film, I was roughly 62, and I had to shoot that day, with the tires and in the factory and everything. And that was one day. And I'm pretty strong and sturdy, but I thought at the end of the day, I need an ambulance. I can't feel my arms. And I don't know how she did that day in and day out. I don't, the weight, the
and that
smell.
that was the 90s? So that's now 2024. I think some of those unions have better female representation now.
Some.
And
Don't hold your breath.
I feel like the labor movement as a whole, in some areas, tends to push the culture forward. Rebecca, is there?
I would definitely say yes. So when I was a young union leader, Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA have always been so much more diverse. I think the workforce, because our workforce is that way, our leadership, our staff, all those people tend to very much reflect the American scene back towards the members, which I think is just terrific. But, unions had a long reputation of not being met. And, over time, that has really evolved. And I would say we now have the very first female president of the AFL-CIO.
Liz Schuler,
big shout out there, who is breaking down all these barriers for women in labor unions. You now see all across the country, certainly here in New York, New Jersey, all these women's events that unions put together that didn't exist before. They didn't exist when I was coming up in the same huge way, in all of these unions. And so that's really important. And the interesting thing that I think about the union movement just, is that when we talk about equal pay in unions, and it's a little bit different for SAG-AFTRA because we do have all these people that make so far above union scale, but unions are actually a really good equalizer when it comes to equal pay. And they've studied it. And Equal Pay Day, which is the time in the following year that it takes for a woman to make the same amount of money that a man did in the previous year in New York, that we just celebrated Equal Pay Day. Many of you actually celebrated with us down at City Hall earlier this week. Unions Equal Pay Day is a whole month ahead of that because the gap is closing for union women, largely because unions are actually fighting for that. And that is something that we can be proud of. Now, it's not perfect. I don't want to pretend like it's perfect because we still have so much work to do. But I think that part is like super exciting.
It's a month more perfect.
It's a month closer. It's a month more
That's
and that's
something.
a big deal. If you really think about it in terms of a lifetime of earnings, that's a big deal. Every day closer, even though it's painful what we have to do to get it, every day closer counts. But that month, that's a big deal.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
Power Her New York is another organization that you're part of.
Yeah, so when I'm not busy with all the SAG-AFTRA stuff, although there's a great intersection, Power Her New York is a network of 100 organizations that support not just equal pay, but various women's issues throughout New York State. And so whether that's the care economy, whether that's fighting sexual harassment, all those things, it's very important work that they do. 100 different organizations, some of which I think are definitely going to be lining up to see this movie. It's
Amazing,
so fun.
yeah. Which comes out, by the way, you guys, this movie's being released May 9th. May 9th, Simone?
May 9th.
Friday, May 9th.
Friday,
yes.
May 9th. It's around Mother's Day, and take your mothers, take your friends' mothers, get your groups together and go in groups so that we make sure they have a great opening weekend. So these kind of movies get supported.
Yeah.
I want to go back to John Benjamin Hickey.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Because talk about a male ally, her husband, and the way that he supported her, the way that their relationship, as portrayed in the movie, and I assume it's based in reality because she got so much shit done that she had to have him there. So not just him, but the daughter in the film. So much of that relationship for me, that relationship was so rich in spite of there not being a lot of conversation with the daughter, but her presence and the way she was holding down the family when the mother was away.
She's still that meeting Vicky in the Hamptons was just one of the great privileges of my life. I mean, playing her mother and then meeting Vicky.
Such a rich relationship.
Just an exceptional woman. And like I said, that apple is just so close to that tree. She's just a remarkable human being. But yes, she was able to do this job because she had a husband who loved her unconditionally. They had a deep, profound love affair. And it withstood everything. And he was not in favor of her going to work at first. But she really she knew the only way to make a better life. And, my mother, it was the same with my mother. My mother ran the city of New Orleans. She was president of the city council under the great mayor, Mitch Landrieu, and was there during Katrina. My mother was a powerhouse and had my father who, stood by her through thick and thin every day. When my mother finally retired, my father said, "Oh, there's something called dinner." And Lily felt the same, Lily and she and her husband, like they were kindred spirits, and then he rocked her world. And so, and he was always there for her, and she could really lean on him, and thank God he was there when she was suffering these blows. And I think I think he was the one who really was instrumental in her getting back up, and because, and also the injustice. She was a woman that it did not sit well with her in any way, shape, or form. I love that about her.
Had you worked with John Benjamin Hickey before? I know you had a crush on him. But.
No. We did like a TV thing like a long time ago, but no, I've known him forever. You know, we're New York theater rats. You know, we've all been doing theater, and we're friends. We have mutual friends forever and ever and ever. He's actually doing a beautiful play right now. He's doing Uncle Vanya. He was doing it in San Francisco, and he's bringing it to D.C. And I'm hoping to see him in April in that. And then he's done in time for us to start. He's going to join me on some press events. We're going to do Watch What Happens Live, and probably both get in a lot of trouble. So.
For me, when the movie ended, the way the celebration at the end and the presence in the strong presence at the end of the film of Obama and Clinton and the remembrance of a time before even the Obama administration, I feel like watching the movie today is very different than if I had watched the movie before our most recent election. And I was with SAG-AFTRA doing some lobbying this week for some legislation we have, so her pounding the pavement resonated with me in a different way than it would have, because it's exhausting. And the amount of time it takes to get something done. It was a reminder to me watching the movie last night that just because something's done doesn't mean it's done forever. And we each have to keep fighting the fight and doing the work.
You know, I one of the press events I did, Jesse Tyler Ferguson has a podcast, and I did his podcast. That'll air closer to the film. And he's such a beautiful, remarkable man. And he said when my husband and I, my then boyfriend, were, fighting for marriage equality, he said, our knuckles were raw. We knocked on so many doors. And he just looked at me and he said, Patricia, change is so hard. And it's just, it will wear you down, but you have to keep going. You do. And
I mean, from the beginning to the end of the beginning of the fight for the legislation, from the beginning of the court fights to the end of the movie, that's a decade?
yeah, it's a decade.
Yeah, amazing.
It's and in the midst of that, him getting sick, it's
Amazing, while having your own full life to be fighting those fights.
Mm-hmm. And so, but the fights that we continue to have, we still have to keep fighting. There is an equal pay everywhere. And
we got to keep fighting. I mean, I think that's what struck me about the movie and how it really just brought home sort of that real life moment of constantly fighting the thing, getting it so far and then handing it off to the next generation. And there was something about this movie when she's sitting in the restaurant and all the people are seeing her and what it means. That to me was so
It really
happened. You could feel that, right? It really happened. And it's such a powerful thing because all the work that you do as an activist is about, I think I got misty last night watching it because I thought of one of our activists who we lost that was part of this coalition, Leslie Shreve. And I was thinking how the work continues through your fabulous co-presidents. The work always continues. The fight keeps happening. And that's what this movie really said to me is you get there and then you keep going because you got to keep getting there.
Well, that's what I hope this film is. Of course, you get to know. It makes me sad that there are so many women of younger generations and even older generations that don't really know who Lilly Ledbetter is. And I'm happy, hopefully, that more people will be acquainted with her, but also it will keep people, eager and ready to keep fighting and question every single woman, young, old, middle-aged, wherever the hell you are in your life, you must question your pay. You must.
100%.
And if we have to keep fighting, I think one of the things we talked about in the green room was the climate coming forward. We have to talk to each other, and everyone around, every woman in every party, every woman in every state is affected by equal pay. Every woman on every job site. It shouldn't be something that divides women by party or by region.
As much as the Democrats embraced Lilly and Obama, to think about that. That's the first bill this man passed. Think about that. A black man from Hawaii, like, understood a woman from Possum Trot, Alabama. It's so moving to me. It's so powerful. It says so much about them. He adored her. I mean, loved her. But yes, this film is not red or blue. It is, everybody benefits when women make equal pay. Every single
That's right.
person benefits. No matter what state you live in, no matter your political leanings, everyone benefits when women make equal pay.
So we're still however many months behind true equality.
Yeah.
What do we still need to be doing to move the needle?
You know, so we're lucky that New York State has passed good laws, but there's more that can always be done. Part of it starts with the awareness issue. So like having this movie out in the mix, because a lot of people sometimes they don't understand, like, what does it mean to make equal pay for substantially similar work? They don't understand about salary transparency, like the fact that you can now see on a job description, what are they asking for that job? Like, that is a relatively new thing that happens that people just take for granted happened. Like, the day we made the change, it was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. That'll move the needle. It'll move the needle a little bit. We're asking for more pay data from New York State and New York City. We are lucky in New York that we have the first female-led majority city council. That's the first time we've had a female majority on our city council. And what that means is this is a regular part of their conversation, not something that comes at an end of a meeting. And that really makes a huge difference. Some of the things that they're looking at in terms of data will help people to be able to know. Even though you might look at what somebody puts on a job description, how does that work out over time? How does that work out for government agencies? We do a lot of work at SAG-AFTRA with other unions in the space, and we work a lot with CWA 1180 that had to actually sue to get the equal pay and did a remarkable job and changed the playing field for women. So there's more to do, but I do really think, like, anytime you can hashtag equal pay day and those kinds of things, even though it just happened, amplify that, other people see it. And the thing that you said about it's everybody's issue, it's a family issue, it's a over your lifetime, what you retire with issue, it's an issue that impacts how people feel comfortable leaving one job and going to another. It impacts where women get good equal pay, they're more likely to leave that job and go to another environment. They've studied this if they're in a inhospitable environment, if there's sexual harassment. So the intersectionality of all these issues is tremendous, and that's one of the other things that struck me about the film, that they worked in that piece to explain how those issues actually do come together. Because when you don't feel like you have power and can speak out, then you don't do it, and equal pay is part of having that power.
When I've started doing a lot of press for this film, and a young reporter called me and interviewed me, and she said, Patricia, I found out, like last year I was writing for this certain paper, this magazine or publication. She said, I found out I was making less money than my male counterpart we were doing literally exactly the same job. And when I confronted them, they tried to tell me, well, he's got this and she said, no. No, and now she makes the same amount of money. And you have to call people on it. And she said, you just don't realize, my husband is standing, she goes, my husband is smiling next to me right now. And we watched this film together and we both cried and we realized I'd been down this road. And, we thought of our daughter, we have a 2-year-old daughter, and it's so far reaching. And it's so monumental in our country, equality.
Yeah.
We've come a long way, but what was that old slogan? You come a long way, baby. We still have a little ways to go.
Still ways to go. I think we're going to do about 10 minutes of questions, so I don't know where you want people to line up or if you have a mic for them. But while folks are, if you could come line up to this mic here and try and keep your questions of a general enough nature that they're, everybody in the room can appreciate the answer, that would be appreciated. One thing I'm thinking of as we're talking about this is how much knowledge is power. For those of us who are creatives, like a lot of people in this room, our pay is not on a list somewhere on some database that you can look up. And I found that as kind of a work for scale plus 10 actor who has to push to get more than that. Friends of mine have started telling each other, sharing each other what I got paid. So when they tell me scale plus 10, and then I found out.
Now.
Scale is much better now.
Scale is much better now.
Thank you very much. We had to strike for that.
Yeehaw.
But
Yeah.
share with your friends. Don't be as secretive as you think you need to be about what you're getting paid, because then, because when you know what each other are being paid, you know what you're allowed to ask for or what you should be asking for. All right, first question.
Patricia Clarkson, another bravura performance.
Thank you. Thank you.
I remember as a teenager in this country in the 60s, when you couldn't get elected to public office, you had to have union endorsement. I remember the president of the MTA union, Michael Quill, dropping dead and refusing to vote for John Lindsay. I also remember President Kennedy could not get endorsed without unions. My question is, you're in a specialized sphere of the labor sector. You're in the entertainment field, you're in a cultural area. How does that really relate or have any bearing upon the people who work in the industries like Lilly Ledbetter, like other people? Is this unionization as strong? Is it as representative of the women who are in these industries?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot you were moderating for a second and was going to have Linda answer the question, deferring to our EVP. 100%, I would say, if you look at how many more union women are engaged and involved in the landscape of changing things, that is just remarkably different than what it was. In terms of, unions and endorsements, some unions do endorse political candidates, others don't. Like for SAG-AFTRA, we are a nonpartisan organization because that's what our membership wants us to be. But that doesn't mean that we don't endorse legislation and other things that are meaningful to our members in the union movement.
But we are in a very protected union because it's a very good union. It's one of the best unions in the country. And now with Fran Drescher, it's even hotter.
And also, we are part of the AFL-CIO, which does a lot of advocacy as well. We are going to cut the line where that last person is because we've got limited time. So, right here.
And keep your questions short, guys.
Short question. Thank you for letting me speak. I was the first woman mailman in my town. I just posted an article on LinkedIn yesterday saying, please don't dismantle the post office. Then I was the first woman selling heavy industrial equipment. This is going to sound hard. I love your shoes. But I spent time in China where foot binding of women had recently stopped, and I say this to all of you. If you are going to put women on television and in films, for God's sake, keep them out of those heels, because we hobble ourselves with heels like that, and that's not a question. Chinese foot binding. Thank you.
I advocate for free choice
love my shoes.
in shoes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Friendly reminder.
What did Ginger Roger quote? That she could do it backwards and in heels? I figure
If she
you get
wants
to
to.
decide. If she wants to.
All right, we're going to keep it
Or she
cute and
doesn't.
short,
Next up.
please.
Thank you so much for this wonderful movie. And I want to thank my wife, who happens to be a woman, for bringing me here as one of the token men here. So my wife and I co-produced a TV show on education, the arts, and social change. And I want to thank you because you checked all three of those boxes in this film: education, art, and social change. So my question has to do with Hollywood. And can we have, as the title of my doctoral thesis is, a Hollywood for the greater good? In what way can Hollywood make a difference in terms of transforming the culture? Oh boy, this is like undemocratic.
Yeah, very undemocratic. We don't have much time.
I
and
think
want
the independent film industry is where we have to count on that kind of change coming from.
No, I think, sir, I think you have a very good question. I think, I think we all try within our own lives, I think, as in Hollywood and with our own means to try for change. And we try to make films like this, which is using Hollywood for the better good. Do you see what I mean? And these films are not easy to get made. I'll be very honest with you. This was a very hard film to get made. And this is the problem. Yes, we're going to have, so many, big action films. And I'm not saying we don't love those. They employ a lot of people. They're huge and there's lots of money. But the way Hollywood must keep doing is we must continue. You realize when was the last film you saw about a great American woman? Tell me. Tell me. Yeah. I mean, so we must continue to make films about important people in this world and how they changed our lives. And that's, I think, when Hollywood is better.
Yeah, and you vote with your dollars and your clicks and your shares. And so part of what we get to see is what we tell people we want to see.
Yeah. So get it out for this movie, y'all. Next up.
I do have one question for the panel, but Patricia, the last movie I saw you in was Monica. You played the mother of a transsexual.
My beautiful film,
which is a bad word today. Your thoughts? But to the panel, 38 states have ratified the ERA. What's it going to take to make it, after 40 years, the law of the land?
Well, that's a fun question, and I wish you'd asked me a little while ago as opposed to right now. I'm going to take for a moment and think about what's possible in this moment. Last year, SAG-AFTRA, along with a bunch of other unions, New York State ratified the New York State Equal Rights Amendment. We spent a lot of time on Prop 1. Woo-hoo. You all turned over your ballots. You had your voice in that. And so while the national picture is a lot more complicated, I think it's smart to figure out what you can do and what you can do right now to make good. That's one of the things we did to make good so that New Yorkers would be more protected, not just in 2025, but going forward. So while other things may be on pause for a moment, and I like to think about things on pause, not done, I think it's really important to think about what are the things that you advocate for in New York that are protective of people. And that was a big, big, big one. And I'm now, I think people knew it was important then, but I'm really glad we did it.
And I just want to say a brief moment. Doing my film Monica and starring opposite a stunning transgender actress, it was one of the greatest moments of my life, doing that and doing Lilly. And again, this is how we make Hollywood better, when we tell the stories.
Hi, ladies. I've always worked corporate and in entertainment. I've run multi-million-dollar deals. I dispute daily financially. I also negotiate every day financially. My question on behalf of the audience is, if a female wants to initiate the conversation of asking what her coworker's pay is, and he's male, how can she initiate the conversation?
You know, I think that's interesting because I think it depends on the corporate environment or the environment that you're in. Linda talked about casually talking amongst other actors, and I think just actors, broadcasters, the giving nature of a lot of the professions that are SAG-AFTRA members, it might come a little more easily, even though it's culturally not something that's usually been done unless it's the highest salary and it gets put in the press, right? So I think that's different than somebody in a normal workplace. And I think there are a lot of organizations that actually have like toolkits, and I can get one to your folks to say, like, what are the kind of questions that you ask? And they can, maybe you all had to make a reservation, so we'll get you guys a toolkit, or what are the questions, what are the things you ask? Because sometimes you don't start with the question about what do you make, what do I make? Because a lot of times people like back the truck up, they don't know why you're asking, all that kind of stuff. It's actually helpful to talk more about your working conditions first. They know this for a fact. Like, how do you feel about these different things? It's the same thing, by the way, that union organizers do. So there's a real parallel there. So you're going to want to talk about just gently, you know, what do you think of this? What should we do about that? Then ask the question. Because if you start with it, I think people have not come to the place yet, unfortunately, where that's accepted at every company. But there are a lot of places where they put the cards on the table and it's totally transparent, which is not something you would have seen before very recently.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi there. I've been a member of SAG for 23 years. Huge fan of Patricia Clarkson. Thank you for being here. And I do have a question for SAG. So I gave birth to 2 children during that time, and during both of those pregnancies, I was basically sent home, you know, from auditioning. So both times, I mean, a casting director one time said, "You look great, but you're taking away from the product," you know, because I'm a commercial actor. So I wonder, you know, years have passed. My kids are like 10 years old now, but what's changed? How can SAG help pregnant actors work? I ended up just doing like some modeling as an actor, but how can we help women? I don't think I'm going to have any more kids at this point, but that's my question. Thank you.
So I'm looking around because there's some of these lovely women's committee members here. I know that this is a topic that they've tackled in the past and would probably want to tackle again. Come over, I'll give you my information, and we'll make sure you hook up with them so we can have a deeper conversation.
Very nice. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey.
Hi, ladies. Patricia, I love your shoes. Don't stop wearing them. And you made me sob. And you made me talk out loud. And I'm curious, as a screenwriter, as a developer, someone who's creating a docuseries spotlighting families with disabilities living against the grain of society's expectations, called Born to Be Me TV, people. I really appreciate the fact that your husband said, you have to go to Washington, even though I'm not well. And I just cried throughout the whole movie. My seatmates will tell me I was laughing and screaming. But I need to know if the car incident really happened, if they really broke into your hotel room, if they really killed those gorgeous birds. Like, where does it get creative and what actually happens? So that I know if I go to Washington with my daughter and fight for people with disabilities.
No, I think you'll be safe. Some of that is some of that is true. But you remember, it is a film, and some is a little more exaggerated, but some of it really happened, and I'll leave it at that.
There you go.
Hi, thank you for a great film. I was born in the country that does not exist anymore, in the Soviet Union, and they did not have issue with equal pay. They have other horrible issues, but not with equal pay and equality. So, and when I see this film, it's about money. It became absolutely obvious that in American society, everything measured by money. Are you happy about it?
Are you happy about it? We just think everybody should have an equal chance at it. There you go.
Bring it home. Okay, so my question, I mean, I could sit here and talk about equality for me as the employee or the contractor, but I'm here to ask a question of the coalition. What tools, resources can I tap into after living in LA for 12 years, coming back to New York, my home, and employing and lifting up? So I just want to know, how do I jump in and dive? What is the coalition, this organization, this day about? Where can I tap into resources to lift up?
I'm going to ask one of the people from the coalition to talk to you in the lobby, or Shellen, you want to answer that?
Well, no, I was just going to say there's going to be the last question anyway. So
That was the last question, and
so
yeah.
well, let's talk in the lobby, and we can tell you lots more. But weren't they amazing? And hasn't been
Thank you,
an
everybody.
incredible
Thank you,
day?
guys.